Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
If you've listened to this podcast very long, you'll know that I really love history. But only certain parts of history really interest me. The Revolutionary War era, the Civil War era, the 1920s and 30s, and some British and French history because of my genealogy. But recently, I've really enjoyed a podcast called Unpacking Jewish History. And if you've ever wondered why things seem to be a tangled up mess in the Middle East, this podcast explains it, one knotty problem at a time. The week we were studying Ezra 1 in Bible Study Fellowship, where the Israelites were allowed to return from captivity in Babylon in 538 BC, I heard a podcast about a mass exodus of Jews from Iraq between 1950 and 1952. If you know your geography, you'll realize that the modern country of Iraq is basically the same territory as ancient Babylon. Though borders have changed and people have come and gone, many of the Jews who left Iraq in the 1950s, those whose family had been there for generations, descended from the Jews who had not returned in the three waves of those who accompanied Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah in the Old Testament. It took all the way to the 1950s for them to leave, mostly because anti-Semitism had become so severe there. In fact, the government had told them if they didn't leave, they'd be put in concentration camps inside Iraq. This at a time when the memory of German concentration camps kept people awake at night. The government froze their assets and practically all the Jews in Iraq left. Where could they go? The newly established country of Israel, of course. During the time of Ezra, about 55,000 Jews left Babylon to go to rebuild their lives in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. But when Israel became a nation in 1948, Jews from all over Europe were already clamoring to get in. Now, just a few years later, persecution increased exponentially so that over 120,000 Jews left Iraq, nearly emptying the country of the Jewish population through Operation Ezra and Nehemiah, which were airlifts. They arrived in Israel penniless, destitute, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. But these were scientists, businessmen, scholars, who added strength and resilience to their new society despite being a financial burden at first. Now, back in Ezra's day, most Jews chose to stay in the land of their captivity. But eventually, after millennia, God brought them home. It's just a reminder that God never forgets His people, and that we can trust Him even when circumstances seem chaotic or downright horrible. This also reminds me that God is always at work behind the scenes, working for good and for His glory, even if we don't see it. So we can trust Him. He knows what He's doing, whether it's with His people, the Israelites, or it's with us as believers. Don't you love to see Him work in history and in our own lives? Sometimes we don't realize it at first, but we can look back and see His fingerprints all over and realize His good purposes, even for the hard things. Where in your life have you seen that to be true? I'd love to hear your stories.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.